Hey guys, it is me, Jacqueline. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time here. Happy 2018. I honestly cannot believe it is 2018. It feels so surreal, but regardless, I hope everyone had a great holiday season and a happy new year. I'm especially excited to be back for the new year with my first video talking about my favorite books of 2017. I didn't necessarily read a ton of books in the year 2017, especially compared to my previous years on BookTube, but I have to say, regardless, I really enjoyed every single one of the books I'm mentioning in this video. I have 9 in total, and I think these are definitely my favorite books of 2017 because not only did I really love and enjoy these books, but they're still in my memory and in my mind. I would love to hear what your favorite books of 2017 were down below in the comment section, as well as if you read any of these books, what your thoughts were about them. And let's get on to this video. The first book I have is Caraval. This is from Stephanie Garber. I actually received this book in 2016, but I didn't end up reading it until 2017, and I loved it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was one of my most anticipated book releases for 2017. I read it closer to the release date because this did come out in January 2017, and I do actually have a whole entire video discussing this book. I have a spoiler-free section, I have a spoiler section, so if you want to know all my thoughts about this book, I'll leave it up in the cards as well as down below. Why I think this is one of my favorite books though of 2017 is because it is still in my mind. Like I said, all these books, I still remember vividly reading them and just experiencing them and my thoughts about them, and they just bring me instant like joy, and I loved reading this book specifically. It was such a mysterious and dark ride, and I loved the whole Caraval aspect. I thought that was so unique and beautifully done. This is her debut novel, and I love supporting debut authors, so I cannot wait until she comes out with the companion, or I think it might even be a sequel to this book, because I will definitely be picking it up, and I can't wait to see how she has grown as an author between this book and the sequel. The next book I have is A Crown of Wishes from Roshani Chokshi. This is actually the companion novel to A Star-Touched Queen, which if you are new to my channel, this is actually one of my all-time favorite books and one of my favorite books of 2016. And when I heard she was coming out with a companion novel to this in 2017, I was so ecstatic. I was like, I need that in my life ASAP. And she actually contacted me, the author herself, and asked if I wanted to receive an ARC copy, and I was like, yes, of course, are you kidding me? I couldn't even believe how much I loved this book. The amount she has grown as an author is unreal in my opinion. I know a lot of people didn't love A Star-Touched Queen. There was a lot of hype surrounding it, and some people found it fell flat, but for me it was like a magical, whimsical experience. But reading this book, you really see that she has actually taken a lot of like the critique and she's really worked on it, and that's why I love supporting like authors in general, but especially debut authors, because I think it is so amazing how they will bring out a book, they'll get all the feedback, and then they develop and change it. And just seeing how she has changed just compared to these two books is unreal. This is definitely my favorite out of the two, I have to say. I love A Star-Touched Queen. I will always love A Star-Touched Queen, but A Crown of Wishes is beautiful. It is a great standalone novel. Both of these are standalone novels, so you can read them individually if you don't want to read them both together. I would definitely recommend to read them both together because I think it gives you a better experience. It's a beautiful fantasy novel. I love sort of the writing. I love the actual sort of imagery and the imagination, the characters, the romance. Like, I could go on and on about this book, but seriously, one of my all-time favorite books. I do have a video review up on my channel, as well as one for Star-Touched Queen if you are interested. The next book I have is Daughter of a Pirate King, and this is from Tricia Levenseller. Now, I also have a video review up on my channel for this book, which I do talk all about it and stuff like that, but if you don't know, I'm obsessed with pirates. I absolutely love everything about pirates. Ever since I was little and I first watched Pirates of the Caribbean, my love has been so strong. When I heard she was coming out with this book, and this was a debut novel, I was all about it. I received the copy actually early compared to when it was released, and I fell in love with this book. I gave it a 4 to 5 stars. I think it is such a great sort of first book part of the series. I do have the sequel. It's actually at my apartment. I have an ARC copy. It comes out this year in February, and I cannot wait to read it because this book, yet again, blew me out of the water. There were certain things I wasn't expecting, but I love the way they developed, and our main character is such a kick-ass, and she is so much fun to follow, and I can't wait to see how this story develops and the whole world in general develops. I'm very impressed by this book. If you love pirates like me and want to pick up a new pirate book, highly recommend this one. The next book I have is The Sun Is Also a Star, and this is from Nicola Yoon. This is just such a beautiful contemporary novel. We follow these two diverse characters who are just so well-rounded, and honestly you just can't help but fall in love with them individually, but also together they just work so well. The actual story and the plot and everything behind these two characters, I loved following and seeing how it progressed. Nicola Yoon has such a beautiful writing style. I have read her other novel, which is Everything Everything. I read that so long ago, so I was excited to read this one because this is literally the only other novel I've read by her, and just seeing how much she has developed and changed as an author, this book was so good. I gave it a straight 5 out of 5 stars. If you haven't read it, I would highly recommend it. It's probably one of my favorite contemporary books ever. I have another contemporary book on this list, and that is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, and this is from Marina Zapata. I have been recommended her books for years now, and finally this year I decided to pick up this book, and I am so glad I did because it was so beautiful. Marina Zapata has a beautiful way of really weaving her story and especially her characters. These two characters I loved. I loved learning more about them. I love seeing how they developed, and I love seeing how they developed together. This is a slow burn romance, which is personally one of my favorites. It is a new adult contemporary novel, which if you don't know, I love myself some new adult contemporary novels, especially because I adore fantasy so much. I love reading contemporary to sort of break the fantasy up a little bit so it's not so much fantasy in my life, and this book was so beautiful. I have read one other book from her that I did like but didn't love. This is definitely my favorite out of the two I have read, and I definitely need to read more from her. This actually, doing this video reminded me of the fact I wanted to read more from this author because I love this book so much, and I highly recommend it if you like some new adult contemporary. The next book I have is Frostblood, and this is from Ellie Blake, and why I just knew I had to put it on my favorite books of 2017 list is because when I was reading this book, and even when I wasn't reading this book, I could not wait to see what was going to happen next. I was so invested in this book. Although it wasn't perfect, I gave this book a 3.75 out of 5 stars. I found that it really held my attention. I wanted to know what was going to happen next. I was so invested in the world and the plot, and I have to say it was one of those books that really stood out to me this year, and that's why I felt I had to put it on this list because it definitely is a favorite of mine. Yet again, it's not perfect. I am definitely going to be reading the sequel whenever it does come out because I loved this first book so much. So the next book I have is The Traveler, and this is from L.E. Delano. So yet again, this wasn't a perfect book in my eyes. I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars, but why I ended up putting it on my list is this is just one of those books that stood out to me. I enjoyed reading this book so much. It was such a fun experience, very different from anything I've ever read in the past. It is a time traveling book, but specifically our characters time travel to different dimensions where they end up going into the bodies of that character that is themselves, but in that dimension. It's a really cool concept, and I enjoyed following these characters and learning more about the time traveling sort of idea. I can't wait to read the sequel because it ended off with something, yet again, I love so very much, and if you've read this book, you might understand what I'm talking about, but I can't wait to see the sequel and all that stuff. And yeah, it was just one of those books that I loved reading. I enjoyed it so much that I couldn't help but put it on this list. The final book I have is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I still do not have a physical copy of this book. I really didn't mean it, guys, when I said in my last video the fact I haven't really bought a lot of books myself this year because I just feel a little bit too suffocated with the amount I receive and I wasn't really reading, yada yada yada. But I definitely need to pick up a physical copy of this book soon, and I know you guys still want me to do a book review for this book, so if you guys would still like to see that review video, let me know. I will definitely be doing it this year then, because I really did enjoy this book. I think I still enjoyed A Mist and Fury the best out of all three in the original trilogy from the Corn and Thorns and Roses series. I know she's coming out with a companion trilogy, but I still see them as two different trilogies but in the same universe. But anyway, I was really happy with the final book part of the series overall. I think it almost ended too perfectly in a way, but still I'm very much satisfied and I can't wait to continue on with the companion trilogy. It took me a while to actually like decide I wanted to continue on. I was like, maybe I'll hear if people liked it and see it from there, or at least which characters we follow, but I think I definitely will continue on because I did enjoy this trilogy overall so much. So those were all my favorite books of 2017. I hope you guys enjoyed this video yet again. Let me know what you not only thought of the books I mentioned, but also what your favorite books of 2017 were. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more videos, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!